Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm your host, Enthros Campbell. Our discussion today will look at the role of an important agency of the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, the Hazardous Substances Regulatory Authority, Hsre. To provide us with the facts is Director General of the Hazardous Substances Regulatory Authority, Maxine Russell. Miss Maxine Russell, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Good. What is the function? Let's start there. What's the function of the Hsre?
The Hsre, Hazardous Substances Regulatory Authority, is mandated to monitor and regulate ionizing radiation in terms of the equipment and the sources that are utilized in the fields. And we do that for the protection of the people, property and environment from harmful effects of this type of radiation.
Mm-hmm. Ionizing radiation, what is that?
Yes. Well, in physics and chemistry, we know that there are some elements that are able to spontaneously decay. And when they do that, they emit a kind of energy that is able also to impact other materials and emit and evict electrons. And so this energy can be very useful in certain industries, definitely, but it also has the possibility of being deleterious to the health of persons. So our job really is to ensure that it is used in a safe way and it always provides security and safety for the users and those who are receiving the benefits of it.
So give us some examples of ionizing radiation.
Okay, so when you go to the doctor, for example, you have an ailment and the doctor wants to make a diagnosis. He cannot see through you by his physical eyes, but he can use X-rays to do that and be able to look at your bone structure and he will be able to determine any anomalies or any sort of dysfunction and be able to do a proper diagnosis. So if you think about it, X-ray equipment, CT scanners, mammography units, these all apply the principles of using ionizing radiation.
Right. So how do you go about your job now in regulating these different departments or business places, or how do you go about regulating them?
Yes, well, we are actually established, the Hsre that is, under what is called the Nuclear Safety and Radiation Protection Act
Nuclear
of
sound like something
2015.
very problematic, right?
Right.
Yes.
And we have a regulations that guides the application or the implementation of the act.
Yes.
And that act and regulation speaks to what we call authorization of users. So persons are out there using this right now, and they were using it for many years before we came along, definitely.
Yes.
And our mandate and role really is to get them under what is called our regulatory control by a process of authorization. So how we do this then is that we classify their facility based upon the items that they do have, the equipment and the sources. We classify them either as needing a license or a registration, and in some cases they may even need a permit.
Right. Why was there a need to have such a body?
Well, ionizing radiation is used globally, and there's actually an international body that promotes the safe use of these kinds of equipment and sources, and it's called the International Atomic Energy Agency. Jamaica is a member state of that agency, and because of that we are signatory to the agreements that will facilitate such safe use. So we have been a member since 1965. However, just recently now, they have established a protocol that is international protocol whereby all countries are required to have a body, an independent, competent body that is able to regulate this kind of material.
Right.
And because we are a member state, we had to, facilitate compliance under the agreements that we are signatory to.
But we were not having any kind of negative impact before.
No. For the most part, we have been very safe, and we really give thanks for that. We do have trained professionals in the industry, especially when you look in the medical industry. So you find you will have radiologists, radiation therapists, radiation oncologists. All of these use these equipment in diagnostic radiology. They use it in radiotherapy, etc. So these persons are very well trained, and they are very well aware of how to utilize this type of energy in a safe way. Then you have on the other side provide the industrial facilities, and they also have trained personnel. So over the years, we have been able to maintain a high level of safety.
Yes.
But, you know, in order to ensure that this continues to be so, the HSRA is here.
Okay, so I was just about to ask you, what is it that you're preventing or you're trying to make better, to improve? So it's just to ensure that we remain safe while we're using these what do you call them now?
Ionizing radiation equipment and sources. And additionally, we want to, Jamaica, you know, when we think about Vision 2030, we want to be at the cutting edge of technology as well. And so we think, we are hoping that with our presence, people will feel at liberty to advance and to take advantage of the cutting edge technology that is out there. And they will feel safe doing so, because they would have established certain procedures internally in their businesses to facilitate such safe use.
About how many entities you're talking about? Like what number do you have?
We have assessed the situation to be about 420 persons right now. It may get a little larger as we go on, but this is the initial
Only
number.
400?
Yes, I mean, we are a small country, and this is we are a part of the Caribbean, and but we do use very high-tech equipment, even in radiotherapy.
Right.
We have some of the latest linear accelerators in that is comparable to any first world country.
Right.
So and not only that, we have a research reactor that is located in Jamaica as well.
Tell us about that.
Well, there is at the university a research reactor where they have a slow poke, what is called a slow poke reactor, to do research and carry on academic work. And so we are really one of the leaders in the Caribbean as well, because we are actually the first Caribbean country to have a regulatory body.
Very good.
Yes, we are the first. And so we are leaders, and, you know, and benchmarking this sort of regulatory activity.
Right. So the entities we're talking about are those that do X-rays, those that do what other?
Well, radiation therapy, as I mentioned before, which really is when persons have cancer and they need to be treated, so they would do that. Brachytherapy is also part of that kind of treatment. And as I said, mammography would be used in that, would fall into that category as well. In the industrial facilities as well, they use, for example, bottling plants. They may use what is called nuclear gauges in order to determine the level of the liquid in the bottle, and to ensure that it is always at the right level while they are on the production line. When you look in the construction industry, they will utilize nuclear gauges to test the moisture in the soil so that they can ensure that their construction is appropriately aligned to their specifications. So it is widely used. Many people may not know that it is widely used there, but we do have a number of persons who utilize this type of technology.
This is such a very important discussion, but we'll take a break now and come back with more information for you. Stay with us. Welcome back to Get the Facts. Our discussion continues with the Director General of the Hazardous Substances Regulatory Authority, Maxine Russell. Now, let's talk about the requirements that the entities would have to meet to be authorized.
Well, when persons want to become authorized, they will have to submit an application form, so that starts it. And we also want to ascertain that the persons are fit and proper to operate this type of facility. So we require the completion of what we call a fit and proper declaration form. And there are supporting documents that are required to support the fact that they have trained staff. There is monitoring of their staff in terms of the exposure levels that are there. and that they have the equipment is working and functioning as it ought to. And that's very important,
So
isn't
you have to
it?
check the equipment, check the staff, check the people who are leading the entity.
Yes.
How many persons do you have working with?
Okay, well, we do have what we call qualified experts. And these experts are persons who will go out in the field and do the quality assurance on the equipment itself. So our inspectors go to the facility as well during this process of authorization, and they will see to it that everything is in place in accordance with what the applicants have submitted to us. But the qualified experts are the ones who actually check the equipment
Okay,
and ensure
excellent.
that it is functioning
Yes,
in the
yes,
proper way.
yes, definitely. So at the end of the process, which will take about how long?
It usually takes about 30 working days for persons to send in their applications, have it processed, and there it does require us taking that application to our board. We are governed by a board, and we have a technical committee that looks at these applications and ensure that they are brought in to alignment and
Yes.
with the requirements of the agency. And once that is done, we will be able to issue that authorization to the applicant.
Yes, yes, which is called a certificate of registration.
Yes, we have certificates of registration, and we also have licenses. And so and there are also permits. And just to, one important fact I'd like to point out that because of this new regulations, persons who are importing such material, whether ionizing radiation equipment or sources, are required to have an import permit from the Hsre. And the only way you can get an import permit is when you are fully authorized by us.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you have 400 such entities, more or
Yes.
less. About how many of them are already certified?
Well, so
or
far
authorized?
we have, I think we have about 15 or 16% of them that are authorized.
Okay.
And this is over really a 1-year period because we really started doing the actual implementation after we received the regulations in 2019. And we really want to encourage persons to come on board because there is much to be gained by being on board, because if you are authorized, it would mean that you would give confidence to your clients that you are, and that your facility has been checked out by the authority, and the seal of approval is on your facility.
Right. So how compliant are the entities that are already now certified?
I believe that they are, I would say, about 90% compliant,
Excellent.
most of them,
Yes,
right?
yes.
What we do, because it's a new process, we are giving some hand-holding support to our facilities and our entities. They are not, we have to make them aware of the requirements and help them to see how they can comply. And they have been very eager, especially those who are really in the business of providing good service to their clients and importing some of these materials. They're eager to be compliant as well.
Right. So what happens if people are not compliant? Do you act?
Yes, our act actually gives us enforcement powers, and this could even reach to the point where equipment can be seized and persons can be brought to court in order to answer to such charges as if they're found to be in breach of the requirements. At this time, we are really trying to get everyone in and help them to comply and to operate in a safe manner.
Yes. Some of the areas or some of the aspects of the business that you would check would be like disposal and when they're using it, what are the things that they should have in place? Are these some of the things that you check on?
Yes, we do. Because at this time, you have persons who perhaps they might be using an X-ray equipment and they want to change really the source of the energy, which is the X-ray tube. And we would recommend that even this used X-ray tube is kept in a safe place until a proper disposal is facilitated. The Hsre is currently looking at these disposal options that we have, and as soon as we have finalized those, then we will incorporate them with our clients.
So I have one of these entities, and what are the benefits for me? Why should I
Well,
be
well, the
certified?
benefit really is that you will be able to to meet the requirements, and it's international requirements. Remember that even as we think about the health tourism, you can imagine that if you have a facility that is said to be authorized by your local body, then persons who come into the country, they will feel free to come to your facility. Right. And then after a while, persons are definitely going to look for the seal of approval from the HSRA when they go to visit these facilities. So it is in their best interest to come on board as quickly as possible.
Right. Any final words for our viewers?
Well, the word for our viewers is that ionizing radiation, when you hear it, sometimes it seems a bit intimidating, nuclear technology and so forth, but it's something that we have been utilizing for many years and safely doing so as well. And so for the viewers, I just want them to recognize the importance of this kind of technology and know that we as the HSRA are here to ensure that it is always used safely and it is safe for the environment and the persons who utilize it.
Thank you so very much for coming today to talk to us about this very important topic, and I'm sure we'll have some further discussions in the future.
You're most welcome. Thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. This has been Get the Facts, and our guest was Director General of the Hazardous Substances Regulatory Authority, Maxine Russell. Thank you so very much for watching, and see you next time with more useful information. I'm Hsre Campbell. Take good care.